I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid, if I wanted something or somebody asked me if I wanted something, then I had two choices. I could either say I did or decline, and that's it. You don't ask for the same thing that you decline later. And before we go on, because that's not a non sequitur, I want you to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And also, if you want to, please contribute on Subscribestar. But in any case, Tom Brokaw done fucked up. He's a million years old. I personally am more of a Peter Jennings fan. Peter Jennings is dead. The Illuminati got to him. But I watched ABC when I was a kid. I never watched NBC. I guess, I don't have the refined tastes of the Dan Rather and Tom Brokaw crowd. But in any case, Tom Brokaw under fire for commentary about Hispanics. That was last week. And I wasn't really interested in commenting on this until I saw something that really jogged my memory about it today, thanks to a person I know who was showing something kind of hilarious. But what's this controversy about? NBC's Tom Brokaw has apologized. What's going on here? That his comments on Meet the Press Sunday that Hispanics should work harder at assimilation offended some members of that proud culture. The former NBC nightly news anchor tweeted in response to a social media backlash to what he had said earlier in the day during a discussion of the proposed border wall. On the show, Brokaw said that many Republicans fear the rise of a new constituency in American politics who will come here and all be Democrats. Also, I hear when I push people a little harder, people say, well, I don't know whether I want brown grandbabies, he said. I mean, that's also part of it. It's the intermarriage that is going on and the cultures that are conflicting with each other. Who the hell is Tom Brokaw hanging out with? Who are these idiots? Now, I wouldn't say that I doubt such conversations may have happened. I'm just asking, why exactly is he getting into conversations like that? The 78-year-old journalist said he's been for a long time that Hispanics need to work harder at assimilation. They ought not to be just codified in the communities, but make sure that all their kids are learning to speak English and that they are comfortable. They feel comfortable in the communities. He said, and that's going to take outreach on both sides, frankly. So once you say, this isn't the first time somebody's gotten in trouble for saying something about both sides of an argument, because nowadays in America, there's only one side, the side that's fed by the corporate media in order to screw people over. Okay? That's their approach to how debate should happen. There's one side to the debate, and now the debate's over. Brokaw received some immediate pushback from another panelist on the political talk show, Yamiche Alcindor of PBS, saying, I grew up in Miami where people speak Spanish, but their kids speak English, he said. And the idea that we think Americans can only speak English as if Spanish and other languages wasn't always a part of America is in some ways troubling. The website Latino Rebels and its founder, Julio Ricardo Varela, pointed out online that a 2015 Pew Research Center survey found that nearly 2/3 of Latinos in the United States were born in the U.S. Hispanics make up 18% of the nation's population. In a statement, the National Association of Hispanic Journalists also voiced its concerns about Brokaw's inaccurate commentary to NBC. Assimilation is denying one culture for the other, said Hugo Balta, NAHJ president and senior producer at MSNBC. Hispanics are no less American for embracing their country or of origin or that of their ancestors. Being bicultural and bilingual is a strength in an increasingly multi-ethnic, multilingual society. I happen to think that this is a bunch of bullshit, because there are journalist associations. There's the NABJ, the National Association of Black Journalists, the National Association of Hispanic Journalists. There are Jewish, Jewish journalistic groups. There are Asian journalistic groups. And, I don't know anything about whether there's a white journalistic group, but I think, fuck all this stuff about whether race or national background should factor in. If you suck at being a journalist, these groups shouldn't be a shield for you. Okay, they shouldn't be able to keep you from being criticized for being a horrible journalist, which many of these journalists, regardless of their ethnicity, are. And that's why the industry is going through a complete tailspin, and we're going to end up coming through the other end with God knows what. Okay, we don't know what type of media is going to develop in the next couple of years because these people are doing such a horrible job and covering stories that have such little importance that we don't know what the hell is going to come out of this because nobody's listening to these journalistic outlets anymore. I hope that many of you go to YouTube, go to channels like this one, but you can go to Sargon or other channels, and instead of getting your news directly from NBC, you can get it from somebody like this. So, as always, let's hear from the least racist source, somebody who has absolutely no prejudice towards anyone, Charlemagne the God.
The Breakfast Club, bitches.
Now, I've been called a lot in my 23 years, but Donkey of the Day is a new one.
Yes, yes.
So they're making fun of Tommy Lauren, who's also a moron. So they're going to prove that there's idiocy on the right, and then they're going to amplify that by being morons themselves.
Greetings, Earthlings. Donkey of the Day for Monday, January 28th. Goes the legendary news anchor Tom Brokaw. Tom Brokaw was on Meet the Press this past Sunday, and he was having a discussion with a group of panelists about what it would take to unite the country. At some point in the conversation, they started having a discussion about how the GOP is dealing with the rising Latinx electorate. I think that's how you pronounce that word. But Latino electorate. Let's hear it.
A lot of this we don't want to talk about, but the fact is, on the Republican side, a lot of people see the rise of an extraordinary, important new constituency in American politics, Hispanics, who will come here and all be Democrats. Also, I hear when I push people a little harder, I don't know whether I want brown grandbabies. I mean, that's also a part of it. It's the intermarriage that is going on and the cultures that are conflicting with each other. I also happen to believe that the Hispanics should work harder at assimilation. That's one of the things I've been saying for a long time. That they ought not to be just codified in their communities, but make sure that all of their kids are learning to speak English and that they feel comfortable in the communities. And that's going to take outreach on both sides, frankly.
Hold on before y'all get upset.
What he say?
Because y'all want the truth, but you can't handle the truth.
Goodness
okay?
gracious.
Just know that Tom Brokaw is a white 78-year-old man. He was born in 1940, so that means by the time the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was implemented, abolishing segregation, he was 24. All right, something tells me that he wasn't too happy about that when it happened. Okay. All right, let's listen to what Tom Brokaw said on Meet the Press again.
So now he's implying because Tom Brokaw said something describing conversations other people had with him, that Tom Brokaw himself was not okay with segregation ending. This is something that Charlemagne the God said in 2016, May of 2016, before Trump was elected, saying the only people who want to vote for Trump are poor white N-words. The God explained, employing the N-word to characterize those who showed up at the real estate barons Make America Hate Again Klan rallies, which is what he calls them, Trump election. So he uses the N-word to describe white people. Well, so this is a person, he's allowed to say whatever the hell he wants. Tom Brokaw, who's had 40 plus years, probably more, within journalism. Again, not the person that I really listen to, but still, he can't even talk about a conversation he claims to have had with other people because it offends people. And that's really the problem that I see right now, is that we're wasting all of this time, and I guess I'm wasting the time too, if we're going to be frank, with identities. People are engaged with other people's identities. The reality is that the reason that America is a draw for a lot of people around the world, it has nothing to do with a history that is either perfect or horrible. Okay? People don't care when they come to the United States whether slaves were freed in the 1860s or whether Jim Crow ended in the 1960s or whether, DDT was banned in the 60s or any of that stuff. People don't come there for that. People don't come to the U.S. for that. People come here because you have individual liberties, you have the civil liberties, you have the freedom of speech. You still have some of those. Those are things that haven't completely been eliminated, and we're fighting every day. Those of you that are, those of you that know me, those of you that do it yourself, maybe you don't even know, there's plenty of people out there on the internet right now who are working to preserve those freedoms, and it's not people like Charlemagne, and it's not people like Tom Brokaw for that matter. This is basically the sentiment that many people thought about when they were talking about Latino culture back in the day, okay?
Okay, by me in America, everything free in America, for us more free in America. I like the city of San Juan. I know a boat you can get on.
Okay, yeah, maybe that was a bit of an exaggeration. And yes, that song, America, which is from West Side Story, was, I believe, composed by Leonard Bernstein. So no, it wasn't exactly an organic expression of Latino culture. But I've never seen any group of Latinos or Latin X's picket West Side Story. I think it's ridiculous. People have always wanted to come here. And I've talked enough on this channel of the American, the American people and the USA's bad relationship with Latin America throughout the years. I'm not one of these people who sugarcoats it in order to show up for the flag. But I am not going to stand here and pretend that because some people might get butthurt over Tom Brokaw talking about real demographic problems, that we shouldn't talk about this stuff, or that there isn't a little friction because of this focus on identity politics. And you know what? It's not Tom Brokaw who is making people feel uncomfortable about their ethnic identity in the United States. I mean, why not just hear from some of these people themselves?
It's hearing other people say things like, ugh, you're so whitewashed, you're so white. Tú eres bien pocho, ¿verdad? Tú no hablas español. Oh my God, you're
So these are, this guy I think is Salvadoran, and he's from Barrow Lake, which is, they're kind of this Hispanic comedy troupe. They have over 1 million subs on YouTube. And I guess they're affiliated with BuzzFeed, by the way. And it happens to be, look at the timestamp on this video. It's from January 26, 2019. And what happened, when did Tom Brokaw have this whole flare-up? January 28th. So this is not in reaction to Tom Brokaw saying this. This is before that. And this guy is complaining about people saying that he's acting white.
so American. What do you mean you don't know the difference between Vicente Fernandez and Pedro Infante? I can't tell the difference. For as long as Latinos have been in the US, which is a very long time, and in fact a lot of the US was actually Mexico, but we don't have to talk about that right now. We've had people treating us and telling us that we're...
So they're claiming that a lot of the US is actually Mexico. Well, Mexico lost the war, and Mexico has lost wars against us. So are we gonna give Mexico back Central America? Because they used to own Central America too. I hope you guys remember that. Should we give Louisiana back to France because we bought it to them for basically nothing, all things considered? Should we give Louisiana back to France? By the way, it's not just Louisiana. It's all the way up to the Dakotas, I believe. So that's a lot of land. So you want to give that back to France?
We're not American enough. What's even crazier to me is that people within our own community tell us that we're not enough for each other.
So he said people within our own community, not white people, are telling them this. People who are Mexican or Dominican or Cuban are telling other people you're not being Latino enough.
Growing up, I never felt Latina enough. I, number one, didn't speak Spanish. I spoke Spanglish.
I'm Dominican, and I always get that I'm not Latino enough. Where were you born? Are you sure you're Dominican? Are you sure your parents are both Dominican?
It wasn't until I went to Mexico that I started feeling backlash about who I was. They started calling me gabacho, güero, gringo. What makes...
So he said essentially that, okay? He doesn't go back and say, well, in America, they also treated me like crap. He says, it wasn't until I went to Mexico. Let's hear him again.
It wasn't until I went to Mexico that I started feeling backlash about who I was. They started calling me gabacho, güero, gringo.
So gabacho is a racist Hispanic term for a white person. And güero basically means like an albino, a blondie, whatever. Gringo, of course, is the generic anti-American term in Mexico. So yeah, people, this guy is not a white man, and he's not a güero. This guy is clearly of some Latino heritage, and they're giving him shit about it.
What makes me a gringo?
I am Mexican and I'm Puerto Rican. Many times in my life, I did not feel Latin enough, where it kind of builds a little insecurity for me.
So my parents are Colombian, and I'm second generation on my dad's side and first generation on my mom's. And my dad grew up in Kansas. He's a very Midwestern Colombian boy. I do question my Latinidad a lot. I didn't grow up with a big Latino population, and when I came to LA, I was like, oh.
When I'm at home, I'm in mini El Salvador. I'm talking to my parents and my abuelita in Spanish. I'm eating pupusas with my hands, sopa de res, and eating that nasty ass cheese that smells like patas chucas. Wow, that cheese is so good though. And when I walk out that front door, I'm also 100% American.
It's almost like someone does a little.
Wow, so it's almost as if you're able to live both ways without being compelled by the law or by social pressure to choose one or the other. It's almost as if the United States allows people to be whoever they want to be without imposing on their personal lives.
Little math kind of, and you get a Latino score. And I've always felt like my Latino score has been pretty low.
I don't know how to dance salsa, and everybody freaks out about that. They're like, oh my God, you're so American. How do you not know how to dance that?
And these are Latino people ragging on other Latinos for not being Latino enough.
Up when my Latino friends would be like, oh, you're Mexican, why don't you speak Spanish? Why don't you know this and that? It used to make me feel very, very bad about myself.
Not all Latinos speak Spanish?
You'll have people being like, you're not Mexican, you're not real Mexican. You don't know Mexican culture. You can't know absolutely everything about everybody.
Don't like a lot of plantain dishes, and I'm Puerto Rican. I see, and then Curly's over here judging right now.
We constantly invalidate.
See, they even joke about it. They're like, oh, you don't eat plantains? Give me back your Latino card. Well, I eat plantains, and I'm not Latino. I'm 0% Latino. Do I get a Latino card? I mean, what the hell is this? Shouldn't people just be able to choose things that they like and then live according to their preferences? Isn't that what liberty actually means? Doesn't matter what country you're from. Isn't liberty being able to make a choice between things that you desire and things that you, I guess, stay away from?
Each other's Latinidad with words and accusations of not being enough.
Listen, we give each other a lot of shit. We do. It's not just non-Latinos, it's each other within our community.
I was constantly growing up with, I am not black enough to hang out with the black kids, I'm not white enough to hang out with the white kids, and I'm not Latin enough to hang out with the Latin kids.
Do I roll my R's more? Do I walk around my 23andMe score?
You have to be proud of who you are. You have to be proud of your roots, of your heritage. Don't let anybody else tell you that you're not Latino enough.
Ni de aquí y ni de allá is so real for so many of us. But if we can stop calling each other names and actually start supporting one another, no matter where we are in the spectrum, imagine how much power we could have.
There is no spectrum. People choose to dance or eat or sing or watch movies or play music according to their personal preferences. Dave Navarro, I believe, is I don't remember what ethnicity he is, but he's a guitarist for Jane's Addiction. Does that mean he gets his Latin card revoked because Jane's Addiction happens to be kind of alternative music, which mostly white people listen to? Is that a reason to? What about Zach De La Rocha? Okay, Zach De La Rocha, same idea, same thing. There's not a lot of Latino people who are into the whole rap rock, metal thing. It's just not that big. Maybe I'm wrong. The Deftones also, they're all Mexican, and they're into the whole new metal scene. This is just my personal experience. This is my personal experience is that, people used to tell me, why is it that you listen to music that's not, first of all, it's not Hebrew, or it's not, it isn't connected to your heritage. Why don't you listen to Modest Yahweh? And I say, back off. I listen to Korn. Or I listen to, nowadays I listen to Hall & Oates, but, how the mighty have fallen, you could say. Just kidding. People listen to things, people watch things, people eat things based on their own personal preferences and tastes. Having personal taste is a part of living in a free society. And if you bully people into altering their personal tastes based on ethnic and social pressures, that's not being part of a free society. That's actually being part of a closed society.
As a community.
The best piece of advice I can say is research your culture, learn about your culture.
I own my Latin experience now. I grew up in Northwest Indiana. I don't speak Spanish. I don't like plantains. Sorry, but that is my Latin experience. I'm owning it.
I just got to a point where I was like, F it. I don't have to prove myself to anybody. I know what I am. I know where I'm from. I know my roots.
If you
see that, those two know it. Those two are right. How can you get into something that you yourself don't enjoy? Okay, it's like those people who are forced to, they get married to somebody who's into opera, and they have to go to an opera and go through 3 hours of fucking whining on the stage. No offense, I do know somebody who's an opera singer, so no offense to him, but I couldn't sit through it. I could probably sit through 5 minutes and appreciate that, but not 3 hours.
want to learn more Spanish because that's important to you, great. If you're just chasing this Latino standard, it's just not going to make you happy, or you're going to burn out.
This is who you are, man. You got to become your own person first. And you got to become the person who's proud of who they are and represent your people. That's the important part.
Ever since learning more about my culture, I've gained this confidence, and now I know who I am, and nobody else can tell me anything different.
Anyways, guys, be kind to one another. Let us know about your experiences in the comments. Cuídense. I love you guys. Adios, mis papitas fritas.
You said, bye, my French fries. Again, that video wasn't bad. And I think ultimately they came to the conclusion that I think I would have come to after a long account of how other Latino people pressure them into trying to be more Latino. The bottom line is you can't be comfortable in someone else's skin. You can only be comfortable in your own skin. And we all have that conflict sometimes. You know, first of all, people often live with families that they can't get along with, whether they're single ethnic families or they're mixed families or whatever. It just doesn't. We're not born into a life that it was basically, you know, where the entire ski course was basically smoothed out just so you can have a very leisurely glide to the bottom. That's not the way life goes. And in the case of these people, you have other Latino people giving them guff about stuff that they don't have any control over. And I am sure, I'm not discounting that there's probably some non-Latino people that give them guff about stuff that they don't have any control over in order to become more American. But that's not what Tom Brokaw was doing. So I want people to take this advice from me, okay? If you desire to do something, as long as it's legal and you're not hurting anyone else, and also something that I would approve of, I think that you shouldn't just force people. I don't think you should be forced to accommodate the tastes of a whole group of people, okay? Now, I would say you shouldn't feel so special that you can't be made fun of because of things that you do that are weird. Okay, but like wearing, let's say, white socks with dress shoes, right? You know, people will still make fun of you for having bad taste, but it's still your right to have bad taste. And far be it for anybody to judge your taste if it's just as acceptable to anyone else, or if your taste, you know, it's all subjective. You know, people are allowed to have different likes and dislikes, different preferences for all sorts of things. Isn't that what living in a liberal society was supposed to mean? Okay, that's why I don't really consider myself to be a doctrinaire conservative. I think that in reality, liberal thinking does not mean having liberal morals. It means being able to open yourself up to the idea that other people can be different from you and that you can contribute to their beliefs without forcing your beliefs onto them. So that's all I have for today. Again, please like this video, subscribe to the channel. I hope I didn't make this too convoluted. Subscribe to my other channel, Razor Ray Special Cuts. Also contribute on Subscribestar. And during the live streams, I also have Streamlabs now. And you can find all my other social media below. Actually, right behind me. And you can subscribe to me here on BitChute and on CocoScope. See you later.